One of the features of narcissistic personality disorder is that the narcissist often falls into this mindset where they feel and think if they can't have you, no one else can have you either. And that plays itself out again and again with different people over the narcissist's life because it doesn't matter how much they feel bonded to or infatuated with somebody new today. It's usually a short while before the narcissist pretty much doesn't want the person around anymore. They find that the person isn't supplying them in the same way. They find that the person causes too many narcissistic injuries. The person isn't a good enough doormat or just isn't good enough for them in their eyes. So they push you away. But at the same time, they can't quite let you go. So narcissists, they're in this little tug of war where they don't want you around anymore. And that's why they devalue you and push you away. But they don't want to push you away for good either. So they do things to string you along. And that's why narcissists are so well known for all this breadcrumbing. When they push people away because they've reached that point where the person isn't supplying them in the right ways, they then do and say things to try to string the person along and keep them around. That's where you see the Hoovers. That's where you see these indirect checkups on you. That's where you see them stalking your social media. That's where you see them trying to work out what's going on in your life so they can figure out what they have to do or say to somehow stay within your vicinity or keep you thinking about them. And that's the key. Narcissists, they always want you to keep thinking about them. They always want to be an active part of your awareness. And a lot of times, probably most of the time, after you're no longer with the narcissist, you're not really going to think favorably about them. And as time goes by, you don't really think about them much at all. Not necessarily because you resent or you're trying to forget them, although that might be part of the reason, but simply because you have other things going on and other things occupy your awareness, your attention, and energy. But narcissists, they fear they fear being forgotten. They fear not being important in your life anymore. And perhaps the most toxic aspect of it is when narcissists no longer want you, they don't want anyone else to have you either. And that's why narcissists work so hard to prevent you from moving on. So much of what the narcissist does after you're no longer with them is about preventing you from moving on. It's about preventing you from opening your heart up to other people or just opening up your interest into other things. There's so much about preventing you from regaining self-love, because if you regain self-love and self-respect, then you naturally will attract things to you that are loving, respectful, fulfilling. So narcissists, the way they string you along, the way narcissists kind of try to keep you trapped, it's like you have this imaginary box, and that imaginary box is like this place of limbo, where if they can keep you there, you're a bit too confused, a bit too doubtful, a bit too ungrounded. So you're not really feeling the love for yourself. You're not really feeling the respect for yourself. And in that box, you're also constantly thinking about the narcissist, which is a result of their Hoover attempts, is a result of their subliminal messaging to you, is a result of their checkups on you, is a result of you just feeling their intense energy on you, and so on. And what that does is, if you focus too much energy towards them, then you don't have that energy to focus towards other people. And you can kind of think there's many, many other examples about what being in that imaginary box looks like. But these are all the things that narcissists do once you're no longer with them. Narcissists are possessive in nature, and they can get obsessive too. Their possessiveness, their sense of entitlement, means they don't want you to move on because they don't want anyone else to have you. The only scenario where they would want somebody else to have you is if they've broken you down so bad that they can't see that you would ever recover well enough to be good enough for them again. That's the only scenario where narcissists can let go of you and be at peace with it, is if they've broken you down so bad that they can't ever see you being good enough for them. But that hardly happens, because even though sometimes narcissists can break people down so bad that they're no longer good enough for the narcissist today, sometimes after 1 or 2 or 3 years, those people recover. And that often happens off the back of very long-term relationships of generally maybe decades of marriage. For the shorter-term relationships, people usually need 2, 3, 6 months to recover, maybe up to a year, in which case they're sufficiently recovered that the narcissist doesn't occupy such a big part of their mental awareness. But narcissists, they can't help it, and that's why even starting an entanglement with the narcissist is so dangerous, because the moment they have their eyes set on you, things can never end well, because if there was a sincere interest in connection, it will always only ever end on their terms. And that involves you being broken down. And they will try to keep you hooked if they think they might ever want you again, which in most cases, their experience tells them that yes, people do recover. Human beings are built up genetically to be able to recover from all kinds of trauma. It doesn't mean you're going to be the same person you were before, but it does mean that you can recover and move on, usually in a better way. And narcissists fear that. They fear having to be exposed to information which suggests you're doing okay, or God forbid you're doing better than them, which is what usually happens. And that creates an ongoing injury. It's not just 1 or 2 injuries, but it's like a successive pattern of injuries that happens minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, and they just really can't stand it. You live in their mind rent-free. So that's why even when narcissists realize that they've lost interest in you, and they can't see themselves getting interest in you again, at least for a long time, their subconscious knows that yes, the moment you've been away long enough, and the moment you naturally evolve as a person into new spaces and new things and new people, and just being a new version of you, which time inevitably does, they want to feel that you're sufficiently in that place they designed for you so that they still have access to you. It's all about ensuring retained access. And that's where they say or do things to try to get you to warm up to them. That's where they have subliminal messaging to make you doubt if they were as bad as you initially thought they were. And all this stuff is designed so that if you end up re-engaging with them, then they have a crafty plan to put you down even worse next time.